are actually maybe the only international federation who has not a unified rules for our game. I think it is a goal for many, many years now that we try to have this unified rule book.
For us, North American, we have different rule books. Every tournament that I work, we need to study the rule book, and there's some differences. That's one thing that sometimes confuses people.
When we travel to IIHF events, I've always felt, especially from our North American colleagues, who are top game officials, they have to come into these tournaments, take the IIHF rulebook, and spend the first couple of days in an event going through it, studying it, because it's so different to what they call at home.
Well, a lot of players come from different countries in my country, I mean in KHL, and they have to have a lot of time to adapt since beginning until the middle of the season.
Every professional league can play with the rules they want, and I think it is wrong. It's wrong for the fans, for the players, for the referees, and it's a good thing that we adjust them, that when they go and play a game of hockey, we should have the same rules.
The IIHF, as the world governing body of ice hockey, is best positioned to take the leading role in coordinating this process.
We've had all the various leagues in Europe involved. We've had a lot of coaches. We've had a lot of managers. Obviously, the referees.
We would like to express our support to the IIHF for the initiative to create a rule book that unifies the world of hockey.
We had different rules in different countries, in different leagues, in different championships and in different tournaments.
The EHC and the IIHF had a meeting some weeks ago where we said that the clubs and the leagues in Europe are willing to assume a bigger responsibility in such an important project for the future.
It's good to have in the future a unified rule book. It's so easy for players, for coaches, for fans, for media, and it will help for the future.
We see ourselves as partners to the IIHF with the ambition to contribute as much as we can.
I do want to say that we are changing within the International Ice Hockey Federation. We won't be doing rules every 4 years. We'll do them every year if we have to. We have to change. The world is changing quicker, and so we have to move in that direction.
Especially regarding the women's hockey, wherever you play, whatever you do, you need to understand that all of the hockey rules are for you, to protect you, and to create the best environment all over the world, how you're playing and how the performance of yourself is going to be.
There's still work to do in understanding how rules for professional women and men are applied to the developing levels of ice hockey, and that work will continue. But you have to start somewhere, and this unified rule book is the start.
The goal for the IIHF is to give everyone a set of rules to work on. For us, the IIHF, it's important that also the referees and all the players and everybody involved are unified with the rule book, and this unified rule book will help to do so.
It's going to be more easier to understand the game of hockey.
For sure, coming together for the international events, it will make us start on a level where we are not at the moment.
Going forward, we will need to work much more closely with all our stakeholders and partners in ice hockey to identify and implement new trends. In order to do so, the IIHF will need to strengthen their in-house capabilities and resources, as well as using the vast expertise of all our stakeholders.
This will help establish consistency across all leagues and also facilitate the integration of NHL players at the World Championship and other international events.
The unified rulebook will make it easier for official players and also, maybe most important, help our fans to understand and enjoy the game even more.
The unified rulebook provides a great opportunity for the benefit of our game and all involved.
We can improve the game, and I know that this rule book is going to help fans around the world.
The unified rule book is a really good thing. It's one sport at the end of the day, so it should be one rule book.
Unified rule book. We need it.
Now that the IIHF Congress has concluded and the rulebook has been approved, the new Unified Rulebook will be debuted for the 2021-22 hockey season. Building on its emphasis of fair play and safety while using the National Hockey League's rulebook as a foundation, the IIHF consulted with not only the NHL and other hockey leagues around the world, but also received input from our member national associations and the specialists and representatives of the various IIHF committees. With that input, this rulebook was developed to reflect the modern game, with an effort to create a guide that can be used by everyone at all levels, regardless of where the game is played. This video is meant to help introduce the viewer to the new rulebook and give an overview on its layout, as well as to highlight the new or amended rules that are contained within it. As you begin to explore the Unified Rulebook, you will see that it looks and reads a little differently than previous versions of the IIHF Rulebook. Like the old Rulebook, the Unified Rulebook has 12 sections that encompass all playing rules. Those 12 sections are playing area, teams, equipment, types of penalties, officials, physical fouls, restraining fouls, stick fouls, other fouls, game flow, specific rules for women's ice hockey, and specific rules for underage players. Much like previous rulebooks, the rules begin at number 1 and go up from there. It is important to note that though the Unified Rulebook is new in layout and configuration, the rules contained within it are predominantly the same as the previous version of the IIHF Rulebook. As mentioned earlier, the goal and aim of the Unified Rulebook is to address issues within the modern game of hockey by taking the best rules focusing on fair play, safety, progress, and attractiveness of this great game. Now let's take some time to discuss some of the major changes and additions to the Unified Book that are different for this season. Beginning at Rule 1, Section 1.8 discusses the goalkeeper's restricted area. The IIHF is implementing the trapezoid area behind the goal line now. This area is the only area that a goalkeeper is allowed to play the puck when it is below the goal line. If a goaltender plays the puck outside the trapezoid while his skates are outside of the crease, he will be penalized with a minor penalty for delay of game. This scenario is also covered in Rule 27.8, Goalkeeper's Penalties. While we were on goalies, Rule number 10.4 allows a goaltender to play with a broken stick. He is no longer required to drop his stick when it breaks. Rule 20 covers major penalties. Within the entirety of the rulebook, major penalties are discussed in a number of places. Importantly, there are a few significant changes to talk about. At the U20 and U18 levels, much like previous editions of the rulebook, every time a player receives a major penalty, an automatic game misconduct penalty must be assessed. However, at the adult level, there are now situations where a major penalty can be assessed without the automatic game misconduct. It's important to emphasize that officials will always have the option of assessing a game misconduct to any player who receives a major penalty should the actions of the penalized player warrant as much. With this change, should any player receive 2 major penalties in the same game, then an automatic game misconduct will be assessed along with the second major. When Rule number 21, match penalties, comes into play, the player who receives a match penalty is no longer automatically suspended for his or her next game. However, any player who does receive a match penalty will still be subject to additional supplemental discipline under Rule 28. In the officials section, and more specifically rule number 32, Linespersons, there are a few new adjustments to their duties. The criteria for when they can stop play has been expanded. They now have the ability to stop play when a player is injured due to a high stick that is unseen by the referee and that would result in a double minor penalty. During face-offs, linespersons can stop the play to assess a minor penalty to a player who attempts to win the draw by using his or her hand. They can also stop play when a goal is scored that goes unseen by the referees. Finally, they will conduct all face-offs at center ice after goals. As we get into the physical type of fouls, it is important to note that the IIHF is committed to clean and safe hockey, as well as strong standards towards violent hits where a player is purposely hitting his opponent in a manner where serious injury could result. Though some of the rules in the Unified Book involve standalone major penalties with the removal of an automatic game misconduct, others have eliminated some penalty options in order to recognize the seriousness and danger of certain infractions. All of this is done in order to allow the officials to have greater latitude in implementing the rules based on degrees of recklessness or reckless endangerment. Let's begin with clipping, elbowing, hooking, and tripping. The options for these penalties are now minor, major in-game misconduct, or a match penalty. The aim of body checking is to separate a player from the puck with a well-timed check. Previously, hitting an unsuspecting or vulnerable player after he or she has let go of the puck has been called late hit. Though still illegal, the late hit rule is no longer a specific rule in the Unified Book. Rather, late hits have been incorporated into Rule 56, interference, which also covers checks that are delivered too early and contact with players that aren't puck carriers. The penalty options for late hits are minor, major plus game misconduct, or match penalty. Checking from behind is one of the most dangerous actions in our game. Recognizing this, Rule 43, the rule for checking from behind, has been amended. The options of minor plus misconduct have been removed, and now the only options officials have are either a major plus game misconduct or a match penalty. Rule number 46 covers fighting. To be clear, fighting has no place in hockey, and the IIHF has instructed its officials to take the strict standard in regards to this infraction. When two willing combatants engage in a fight, the minimum penalties assessed should be a major in-game misconduct. The only time a game misconduct should not be called is when a player is purely defending him or herself from an opponent who may be identified as either an instigator or an aggressor. In this case, a standalone major penalty may be assessed by the officials. Along with these items, the fighting rule has been greatly expanded to cover many types of infractions, such as fighting off the playing surfaces, fighting after stoppages, secondary fights, and such. Rule 47 is headbutting, while Rule 62 covers spearing. These two rules have been adjusted so that any player who attempts either a headbutt or a spear without actually making contact will receive a double minor penalty. If a player doing these things actually makes contact with his or her opponent, then the referee can either assess a major plus game misconduct or a match penalty. Checking to the head has now been renamed illegal check to the head and is covered under Rule 48. Much like checking from behind, this is one of the most dangerous actions in our game and can lead to significant injuries. There is no such thing as a clean check to a player's head. Officials will only have two options for this foul, a minor penalty or a match penalty. This penalty shall be called when the head is the principal or main point of contact and no parts of the player's body is hit prior to the head. Full force and intentional hits to the head where a player picks the head of an unsuspecting player or the player delivering the hit has other options than to hit the head, shall be penalized with a match penalty. When the hit to the head is deemed accidental in nature with no intent on the part of the player delivering the hit, then a minor penalty may be called. Rule 51 is roughing. There is no more double minor for roughing in the Unified Rulebook. If the officials deem a player to be guilty of something greater than a minor, then they should penalize a player under the fighting rule. Additionally, this rule specifically calls for a match penalty to be assessed to any goaltender who uses his or her blocker in a dangerous manner towards their opponent. When a player is guilty of kneeing, cross-checking, or slashing, the penalty options for the officials are now a minor penalty, a major plus game misconduct, or a match penalty. Rule number 83, offside, has been adjusted to reflect what the National Hockey League, Continental Hockey League, and Swedish Hockey League have been playing with this past season. What this means is, now the blue line is considered three-dimensional and extends vertically upwards into the air. When a team is entering the attacking zone, a skater no longer has to have skate-to-ice contact with the line to be considered onside. Now, he or she must only have their skate over the plane of the blue line within the three-dimensional area that the blue line occupies. Finally, let's spend a bit of time talking about the use of video and how that tool will now be used. Not every league, level, or facility will have video capabilities, and the following information is only applicable in situations where video is available. The new rule adds to the situations that officials, in conjunction with the video review consultant, can use video to confirm the legality of a goal. They are confirming that the puck entered the net through the goal mouth and not through the netting or under the goal frame, confirming that the puck entered the net as part of continuous play, where the whistle or lack thereof had no effect on the scoring of a goal, and finally, the legitimacy of all goals scored during a penalty shot or shootout. In other words, for example, was the puck in continuous motion towards the net at all times, or did the puck enter the net as a result of a double tap or rebound? One item of note is the use of video to review goals that were scored after an attacking skater had interfered with the goaltender. In select IIHF championships, where coaches' challenges are available, the only way this situation would be reviewable is if a team, through their head coach, used a coach's challenge. In games where a coach's challenge isn't being used, then this is a play that, like in past years, would be reviewable by the on-ice officials in conjunction with the video review consultant. Speaking of coaches' challenges, in select IIHF championships, coaches' challenges will be allowed. This is another tool where video can be used. In these situations, a team through their coach may challenge the legitimacy of any goal because of the following situations. Number 1. A missed offside that leads to the scoring of a goal where the puck entered the zone illegally and remained in the zone until a goal was scored. Number 2. When there has been a missed stoppage event in the attacking zone that leads to a goal. In other words, a play may be challenged when the defending team believes that the play should have been stopped by reason of any play occurring in the attacking zone that should have resulted in a play stoppage caused by the attacking team, but did not. Finally, a coach's challenge scenario is a scoring play where there was a potential for interference on the goaltender, either called or not called. Once again, it should be noted that for this situation, in games where there are no coach's challenges, then potential interference on the goaltender would be reviewable by the on-ice officials in conjunction with the video review consultant. One final note on coach's challenges. With 1 minute or less in any game, or at any time in overtime, teams will not be able to challenge any of the plays just mentioned. Rather, these reviews will all be initiated exclusively by the video review consultant. The on-ice officials may also use video in situations where a double minor for high sticking under Rule 18 is called. In this scenario, the officials may use video to confirm or modify their call. Finally, in certain IIHF championships, the officials may use video review on all plays except fighting penalties, where they have assessed a major penalty. This review may only be done by the on-ice officials in order to either confirm their call on the ice or reduce the call to a lesser infraction. They may not use video to see if they missed a penalty where, for instance, a player is injured and no call was made, or to review a major penalty to determine that there was no foul on the play whatsoever. Before wrapping up, it should be noted that the rulebook also has specific sections covering rules and regulations that are for women's hockey as well as junior hockey. Among the items covered are rules regarding illegal hits in women's hockey and facial protection, as well as neck guards and other items for all players. Thank you very much for watching this video to help introduce you to the new IIHF Unified Rulebook. We hope that you have found this helpful and encourage all people watching to read and explore the rulebook in its entirety, as in addition to the rules that have been covered here, there are a number of other less significant changes that can be found within its pages. Should you have any questions about this new rulebook, please email us at rulebook@iihfoffice.com. Thanks again. Here's to a great 2021-2022 hockey season.